There are moments in life that stay with you forever, not because they're thrilling or joyful, but because they haunt you. My name is Evan, and I'll never forget the night I made a delivery that nearly cost me my life. It all started like any other day, but what awaited me at the end of that shift was something far darker. There was no doorbell, only a strange line-shaped knocker. I tapped 3 times, and as soon as I turned to leave, the gate slowly creaked open, as though something unseen had been waiting for me. It was a long, exhausting shift, delivering packages for Amazon. I'd been to countless houses, apartment complexes, and neighborhoods, but nothing prepared me for the eerie mansion that lay deep in the woods, hidden behind thick black gates, far from the usual delivery routes. I stood in the foyer trying to ignore the sinking feeling in my gut. Moments later, a woman appeared. She was stunning and settlingly beautiful, with pale blue eyes that seemed to pierce right through me. Her lips curled into a slow, almost predatory smile. She looked like a dream, a vision from a past life. I hesitated, but something about her grip, gentle yet firm, pulled me forward. The house seemed to grow colder, darker with every step. I tried to remind myself that it was just an old house, that my mind was playing tricks on me. But then, we reached a room. He stormed toward us, ripping the woman away from me as if she was nothing more than a puppet. But his eyes were cold, calculated. "You're not leaving here," he growled, pulling me down the stairs. The door swung open to reveal a lavish bedroom, its luxurious sheets and velvet curtains contrasting sharply with the eerie atmosphere of the rest of the house. There were knives, shears, and various implements that looked designed for nothing short of pain. My heart raced as the man began to fasten my arms and legs to a table in the center of the room. My hands broke free from their restraints, and in one frantic move, I grabbed a knife from the table. I swung it blindly, catching the man in the arm. When I finally reached my truck, I sped off without a second thought. I never went back to that mansion, and I never spoke about it again. But the memory of that night still haunts me. He recoiled, giving me just enough time to free myself from the leg restraints and scramble to the door. Crows gathered in the yard, and a massive black mastiff chained to a post growled at me as I passed. I ran for my life, my legs burning as I made it to the front gates. I squeezed myself through the bars and didn't stop running until I was safely on the other side of the mansion's grounds. All I know is that I narrowly escaped a fate worse than death. He found himself in a situation that no one should ever face. It's a reminder to be careful where you go, who you trust, and what you're willing to risk. Some invitations come with a cost that you'll never escape from. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still hear the woman's laughter, the man's cold, terrifying voice. It was a sight that chilled me to my bones. I protested, but the room felt suffocating, and her touch too soft, too deliberate, silenced any objections I had. And the grip of the man was now on my arm, dragging me out of the room. But it wasn't the dog that sent shivers down my spine. It was the silence of the place. There was something wrong about it. Something off. The place reeked of isolation. When I rang the bell, the gates creaked open on their own, as though the house was inviting me in. As I drove up the winding path, the mansion seemed to loom over me, its dark silhouette surrounded by dense trees. The woman's soft laughter echoed around me as she floated by, her eyes still locked on me. The man stood at the table, lifting a pair of large shears with a sickening grin on his face. I parked the van and made my way to the front door. I didn't even have time to react before the door opened. A tall, broad man stood in the doorway, his eyes dark and hollow, as if he hadn't seen the light of day in years. "Can I help you?" His voice was low and gravelly, like something from the depths of the earth. I explained that my tire had blown, and I needed to use his phone. He hesitated for a moment before nodding and stepping aside. "Come in," he said, the words heavy with an unspoken promise. The air inside the mansion was thick with dust and darkness. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice almost melodic, like the whisper of wind through the trees. I introduced myself, explaining my predicament. "Come, let me show you around," she said, her hand resting on my arm, leading me further into the house. As we walked deeper into the mansion, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. "Wait here," she said, pushing me down onto the bed. Suddenly, the door slammed open. The man, the one who had let me in, stood in the doorway, his face twisted in fury. "What are you doing?" I shouted, trying to sit up, but the woman's hand was still on me. "I was just trying to help," I stammered, confusion clouding my thoughts. He led me into a dark room, an empty space with cold stone walls, lined with grotesque tools. Chains hung from the ceiling. "Listen, I really don't want any trouble," I pleaded, struggling, but it was useless. "The price is your manhood," he said coldly. With everything happening so quickly, my panic surged. The woman screamed as I shoved her aside, bolting out of the room and down the dark hallway. I ran for what felt like miles, not daring to look back. Who were they? What did they want with me? This story is inspired by one of our real-life subscribers.